if the Democratic voters of Michigan, and a handful of other swing states, are feeling uncommitted in November, Joe Biden could lose re-election. Tuesday's primary, in which tens of thousands of Democratic primary votes cast protest ballots over the president's support for Israel, made clear that he faces a battle for his own coalition and political base that he must win if he is to defeat likely Republican nominee Donald Trump. The stakes could not be higher, since there's a good chance that the candidate who captures Michigan in the fall will return to the White House for a second term. But while Biden can seek to mitigate his issues with the state's thousands of suburban Arab American voters, his chances of easing his vulnerabilities may depend on something that may be out of his power: the return of peace to the Middle East and the end of Israel's operation in response to the Hamas terror attacks last October. Democratic primary voters in Michigan have the option to mark their ballot as uncommitted. In 2012, even President Barack Obama suffered 20,000 such defections. That was a blip in a cruise to re-election. But on Tuesday night, Biden got an unmistakable message. With only 61% of the vote in, Biden had 81% of votes cast. But more than 67,000 voters had made their point by casting an uncommitted ballot. The size of the uncommitted vote after an organized campaign by Arab American and progressive critics of Biden's Middle East policy is the most tangible sign yet of how the war in Gaza is tearing at the fabric of the Democratic Party. One primary in February will not dictate the results of the general election. And it's impossible to predict how Biden will fare in a rematch against Trump, who seems an even worse fit for voters of Arab descent after suggesting he'd try to reimpose his Muslim travel ban in a second term. Trump also has his general election liabilities to worry about, and that's before any possible convictions he could face in 4 criminal trials. His last remaining rival, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, won nearly a third of the votes in Michigan. This meant that, as of Tuesday night, more than 225,000 Republicans there would prefer her at the top of the GOP ticket, even though the ex-president has a 100% record so far in his party's nominating contests this year in his quest to win his 3rd straight GOP presidential nod. The warning signs of an unraveling Democratic coalition pose key questions. Will the Democrats who showed up to cast a protest vote against the president on Tuesday be willing to return to the fold in November? If Biden is successful in negotiating a ceasefire, will he placate many of the voters who registered their anger on Tuesday? Or has the conflict already caused him irrevocable political damage? Will the unmistakable electoral price that Biden faces force the most pro-Israel U.S. leader in decades to harden his stance against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his apparent desire to prolong the war? If that happens, will Arab American and progressive voters who are angry with Biden reluctantly back him against Trump?